Get my foot in it. Starting to get a little squirrely there. Alright, so what am I, P7 now? Got no time left. Oh, do I push? Make a pass? Classic dilemma? Gotta go for it, right? Ah! Welcome, thanks for joining me, and happy holidays. I hope you're all keeping safe and warm out there. I appreciate you joining me for the next video of my Automobilista 2 tour of Brazil. Now, for those unaware, the point of this video series...
For those who are not aware, the point of this video series...
The point of this series is to introduce the average sim racer who is ignoring the great Brazilian continent AMS2 and show them a little bit about what they're missing out on. Got a great card track combo prepared today. In fact, we'll be taking a look at the first open-wheel, single-seater race car in the series. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Today we visit the circuit commonly known as Jacarepaguá, which was located in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The history of this track goes back to 1964, when a different circuit known as Barra de Tijuca was constructed in the same location. This 2-mile circuit lasted until 1970, when plans were made to replace it with a larger racetrack. This racetrack would be Jacarepaguá. Construction started in 1971. However, due to political instability, there were many delays and the circuit was not finished until 1977. The track soon became a major motorsports attraction in the country, and in 1978, Jacarepaguá would host Formula One as the site of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Formula One did not return until 1981, but would keep the Jacarepaguá Grand Prix circuit on the calendar through the 1989 season, after which it would move to the Interlagos circuit. An accessory trapezoidal-shaped oval circuit was constructed in 1995 that utilized a small portion of the Grand Prix circuit, named the Emerson Fittipaldi Speedway after the Brazilian champion of both Formula One and IndyCar racing. This oval circuit served as the Brazilian home to the American kart IndyCar racing series from 1996 until 2000. The end of Jacarepaguá came as the city of Rio de Janeiro started a bid to attract the Olympic Games and planned to use the site of Jacarepaguá as the heart of the Barra Olympic Park. Demolition started in 2006 rendered the full Grand Prix circuit as well as the oval unusable. Smaller circuit configurations were made from the remaining track, but their use only lasted until 2012 before the full site was bulldozed in preparation of the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio. Jacarepaguá lives on today only in simulation form in games such as Automobilista 2. The layout we will use today is the full Grand Prix layout that was used from 1995 to 2005. This 3.06 mile or 4.93 kilometer circuit presents a fairly quick lap with little elevation change. The track features 13 turns in a variety of radiuses, with late apexes being a common feature of most of them. Joining us on track today will be the Formula V. This is an open-wheel, single-seater race car based on a pre-1963 Volkswagen Beetle, which uses a selection of stock parts, a purpose-built tube-frame chassis, and racing tires. The Formula V features no wings and little in the way of aerodynamic grip. The car also has no driver aid, such as traction control or anti-lock brakes. The origins of this car date back to the late 1950s in the United States as a collaboration between an American businessman and an Italian race car designer. Their goal was to produce a less expensive way to enter single-seater racing. The car was a success, and by 1963 had its own well-attended racing class ran by the Sports Car Club of America, one of the primary motor racing sanctioning bodies in the country. From there, due to its low cost, ease of upkeep and repairs, as well as the highly competitive racing the car tended to engender, the Formula V made its way across the world, landing in Brazil in 1967 and being ran as a series there until the early 1980s. After a 30-year hiatus, the Formula V returned to Brazil in 2011, and for the same reasons that originally made the car successful, enjoys a high level of popularity to this day. Besides the American and Brazilian championships, Formula V competitions also exist in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Ireland, the UK, and South Africa. The Formula V in AMS2 weighs in at 1,168 pounds or 529 kilos. and features a naturally aspirated 1.6-liter engine producing 96 horsepower paired with a 4-speed H-pattern gearbox. Alright, here we go. In the Formula V, running the 2005 Grand Prix layout of Jacarepaguá. So I'm starting P11 out of 21. We've got a full grid here of Formula Vs in both configurations. The game actually features the one with the fin on the back, which is, you can see that 33 car has a little rear fin, whereas that green car in front of me, that 32 car, does not. I don't know if there are actually any differences between the two from a driving characteristics and performance standpoint. I doubt it. They both have the same basic specifications. So I would imagine, at least as it's represented here, probably comes down to just aesthetics, but I don't know for sure. Maybe there's something different about the non-fin version. I have not tested it yet. Either way, you take either of those out on track, I think you are destined to have a great time. If you at least give yourself a little bit of time to kind of practice in this car. It is so much fun to drive. It's kind of a pure race car. Really reminds us of something like an early, Formula One car, 1960s maybe Formula One car. No driver aids, no aerodynamic grip, just pure rubber meets road racing action. And the guys who designed this car set out to achieve a goal of, a little squirrely there. That's what happens when you don't brake enough before you start downshifting in this car. But yeah, when they set out to design this car with a goal of creating a less expensive way into single-seater racing, obviously they succeeded very well. Just in the sense that this is a racing class that is still around to this day, still enjoyed by many people. And even though I don't think I'll ever be driving any of these cars in real life, so glad to have a chance to run them here in these sims. Even with the lower horsepower that these cars produce, being that you're so just open, low to the ground, you really get a great sense of speed and competition in these cars. It's a very lively drive too. It's definitely one where you're going to be sliding it through a lot of corners. And that's just expected. That's the way you got to drive a car like this. The back end can definitely get a bit happy on you. And you kind of just got to ride it out at times. Work that throttle. Little counter steer. And you should be good to go. As long as you don't majorly upset things. But it is prone to some snap oversteer. As the as weight is distributed unevenly throughout corners, so watch out for that. It's one where the precise inputs are going to be your friend, but it's not too difficult to get the hang of. I think it becomes fairly intuitive pretty quickly, to the point where even though you are kind of fighting the car at times, you're not really thinking about it. It's just kind of just do it. You're more concentrating with trying to get to that next car in front of you, make that next pass. And I think that's a sign of a good race car where even if you are having to really drive it, you're not thinking about it too much. It leaves a lot of room for brain power wise for planning your next move. Now, this track here, I had not driven prior to making this video. And man, as I'm, doing my testing and and making my way around this track, I'm so bummed that this doesn't exist anymore. This is a great circuit. I understand what, the city of Rio de Janeiro wanted as far as that Olympic bid and, that being important to them, but you kind of think it seems a bit short-sighted. The Olympics, that comes around, basically once in a city's lifetime that you're usually going to expect to use these facilities. And it's like, what, a month that it's around? And here you go demolishing a racetrack that's been there for so long and could have been there for so long for something that was, essentially here today, gone tomorrow scenario. And this just doesn't exist anymore. It's dead. It exists only in, simulation, which, makes me really glad that companies like Ryza have brought this sort of back to life, even in a digital form. At least it can be enjoyed in some fashion. And I would imagine this is a fairly accurate layout, even though I don't expect that this is, like laser scanned by any means. I don't think so. I don't know for sure, but I don't know if anyone's getting out there with, LiDAR machines or something in the mid-2000s, which is the latest that this probably could have possibly been done. But Ryza's a studio that puts a lot of, care into the detail of what they produce, so I expect this is a pretty good representation. And, objectively, whether it is or isn't, is really immaterial to the fact that as it's presented here in the sim, it's a lot of fun. This is definitely a circuit that goes really well with this type of racing. Obviously these cars kind of, in characteristics of how they drive, they really match what you would have been racing when this track was designed, at least in its original configuration. I really don't know how much it's changed throughout the years. But the fact that this track also offers an oval is awesome, and especially since AMS2 just added a bunch of classic IndyCar stuff. And not only that this is an oval, but it's an actual, oval that, kart IndyCars raced at. That's cool. I didn't even realize that until I started watching other content creators talking about it, that like, I knew the oval configuration was in there because I'd looked through all the tracks in the game, but that it was a legit, IndyCar track. It's not just like, oh, this works, you could do it. It's like, yeah, they really raced here, so, it's not like you have a full seasons worth of possible, real IndyCar tracks at this point, but you've got a few good enough to have some good experiences. And from all accounts, those cars are fantastic. I actually haven't gotten into them yet. I've been busy with other stuff and holidays, and this is the first time I've gotten back into AMS2 in a few weeks here, and I'm quite happy to be having the experience that I am, because man, this car is so much fun. I know I keep saying it, but it is. If you haven't driven the Formula V yet, get out there. Get into it. Like, even right now, as I'm just kind of jabbering away, I'm still in this race. I haven't had to think too hard about what I'm doing, but, it's definitely a car where to really get the most out of it, you're going to need to, pick your spots. I love the way they lean into these corners. They just look cool. I don't know, I'm just one who really appreciates a race car like this. If this in any way appeals to you watching this and you have not tried this yet, man, get out there and get into it. There's actually a couple other cars in AMS2 that are very similar, I think, in overall characteristics. The Formula Trainer cars, which I want to say are based on like a Formula Ford. I don't know for sure, but they're not too different, although I like this better. I've driven both, and I don't know, something about this just clicks a little more, but those cars are a lot of fun too. As I've said a few times in this series, though, if you've watched any of my other videos, I'm a sucker for a low horsepower race car with an H-pattern gearbox, and this absolutely fits the bill. Oh, I keep going too deep into that braking zone. It's like the one corner on this track that I forget about. That was not the fastest line through there, but all the AI took the same line as me, so I guess that's okay. Didn't lose any time. Definitely an interesting characteristic of this track is like almost all the corners are like late apex. I don't know why they are all designed like that. And at first it really threw me off. Like I just didn't expect that, so I, you know, wasn't prepared for it. I don't know, it just took me a little bit to get the hang of it, but once I did, God, this track is so much fun. Get my foot in it. Starting to get a little squirrely there. Alright, so what am I, P7 now? Got no time left. Oh, do I push? Make a pass? Classic dilemma? Gotta go for it, right? Ah. Alright, last lap charge. See what we can do here. P5. Feeling good. That feels good. Just get that downshift time right. Car starts to slide just a bit, but you're still in control of it. And you start getting onto that throttle, getting that power back down again. It's beautiful. All right, doesn't look like I'm gonna have another overtake in the works here, but what, P11 to P5, not a bad race, especially since I was talking through most of it. Oh no! Oh, I really thought I was going off there for a sec. Thought I've done that so many times. All right. Here we go. I'll take it. Thanks for riding along with me. I greatly appreciate having you here as always. And hey, this time I managed to not run out of gas or fall off the racetrack and did make a few passes before the end of the race, so I think we'll have to put this one down on the nice list. Certainly hope to catch you again in a future video. Once again, happy holidays. We'll see you next time.